Well, it's the end of an era in the Hammer. After an eventful 7-year run, Jamie Sommerville is stepping down as music director of the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra. And the Maestro joins us now to talk about those years in the ambitious city, and it's good to have you here
Thanks,
at TVO. Before we talk about your time in Hamilton, I actually want to know a little bit more about your background and the instrument you play. Because as far as I know, there's not too many French horn guys who are actually conductors of symphony orchestras. So let's start there. When did you first pick up the French horn?
I first picked it up. I went to high school in Toronto, UTS, and came to the new school. I guess I was 12, and our first music class, we got shepherded into a room, told to pick an instrument, and this is true. I was kind of at the back of the line. Like everyone else, I wanted a saxophone or a trumpet or something, and all that was left was French horns.
You're kidding.
So I kind of backed into it. But
that's how it happened.
Yep.
It's like the guy who becomes an NHL defenseman because everybody else wants to play forward, and he never got a chance to play forward.
That's actually why I became a goalie, because I couldn't skate.
Getting a goalie too. They don't call it the French horn anymore, though, do they? It's just called the horn now.
Yeah, you know, that's sort of the term of art in orchestras. But I tend to call it French horn just because then, you know, you're not talking about a Miles Davis trumpet or an English horn or something.
Gotcha. Did you play other instruments as well growing up?
Growing up, I did. I think like most or many kids back then, I took music lessons from an early age. So I learned the piano and guitar.
Any good at them?
No, terrible.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously.
So French horn by process of elimination?
Yeah, you know, I think it was just that, I mean, I was a music geek in high school, so I did kind of dabble in everything else, but despite having backed into it, it turned out that there were a lot of things about that instrument that really suited me, just physically and emotionally. You know, it's just, I felt at home with it, so I took it a lot farther.
Let me explore that a little bit, because you know, the principal violinist or the principal trumpet player is out there. They're a bit of a star. The French horn player usually isn't. Did that suit your personality?
Well, I think so. I should probably lie down on the couch at this point.
Yes,
get into
the session begins now.
Yeah. You know, I think the thing about the French horn is that you spend a lot of the time in the orchestra being, you know, part of the blend. You're sort of part of the woodwind section, you're sort of part of the brass section, and then every once in a while you have this glorious big solo line to play. So you're kind of like, you know, you emerge in a star role from time to time, if you will, but then a lot of the rest of the time you're just kind of in the back and supporting.
After all the years you've been doing it, have you been able to sort of nail down what your favorite starring line is? Which particular piece of music features you the best, that you've enjoyed the most?
Yeah, it's always hard to pick one. I think, you know, the really big, great French horn solo is the Fifth Symphony of Tchaikovsky. Starts the second movement, slow movement, and it's a great big long thing, and it's gorgeous melody. It's one of those classical melodies that a lot of jazz and pop composers have sort of adopted. So there's a I can't remember the name of the tune, but there's a Chet Baker tune that he plays that solo. So that one is always, you know, when I see that coming up in the schedule, I look forward to it.
Gotcha. You also, by way of background, were with the Canadian Opera Company for a while. Yes, you played principal horn for them.
I did.
Got a highlight there that comes to mind?
You know, my first run of operas at the COC, we did a pretty obscure opera called Hamlet, which was pronounced Hamlet because it was by Ambroise Thomas, a French composer. And that starts with another great big horn solo, the overture to the whole piece. And I mean, it always went well, but I mean, it's mostly a highlight because it was so nerve-wracking, because here I was in this new position, and the first thing I had to do was just, you know, like I was saying, you know, just like front and center. So even though you're in the pit, you really feel like everyone's listening and everyone can hear it.
That's what I was going to say. You're front and center, yes, but no one can see you. So there is that protection in some respects, yes?
Yes, that's true. But you definitely, it feels the same. It doesn't feel that different.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Even though the audience can't see you, you still feel, boy, I better not screw this up because they'll know who it is.
I guess they probably won't know who it is. But the thing is, when you play in an orchestra, and you have the conductor there, and you have your colleagues there, I think for me, and I think for a lot of my colleagues, you know that you're your own worst critic, and maybe next to you, probably the people around you is the next level, and then beyond that, you have the actual critics and the audience who, the audience. They may be critical in their way, but in the end, they want to hear something beautiful, so they're on your side.
Newspaper critics, not so much.
You never know.
You never know, that's right. Okay, the Chamber Orchestra of Europe, you played with them as well. I don't know them. Tell me about that.
That is a really great group.
Where are they based?
Their offices are in London, but when I played with them, which was for a couple of years in the mid-90s, and I think still they are really pan-European, so they'll have residences. I played with them in Ferrara, Berlin, Paris, in London. I went to Japan with them. So their membership comes from all over the continent, and they work with just great conductors and great soloists, and it's just like it's hard to describe. It's like an orchestra that kind of plays like a small chamber group, like a string quartet. So it's like everybody, it's like the kind of group where you get the sense that everybody's just wide awake all the time, and everyone's listening to everything else, and everybody knows the rest of the score. So it's
Many Canadians with them?
There have been. I'm trying to think. When I was there, I think I was the only one at that time.
That might be my hunch as well. Yeah. Okay. You also played in the more sort of traditional symphonic orchestras, the Montreal Symphony, the Toronto Symphony. Any highlights from those events that come to mind?
Well, they're, as I'm sure most of your listeners will know, I mean, those are world-class orchestras, right on a par with the great orchestras everywhere. Montreal, when I was there, I loved that job because it was, it was kind of golden age for that orchestra. We were touring all the time. We were recording a lot.
Who was the conductor?
Charles Dutoit.
Okay.
And so it was really fun. I mean, we would go. I mean, we'd go to Tokyo. Like it seemed like a couple times a year we'd be over there, and I'd have my favorite restaurants. Like I'd know the guys at the sushi bars and stuff, and so I started to get homesick for Tokyo after leaving the MSO. Strangely enough.
And how about in Toronto?
Toronto.
Who was the conductor, first of all?
That was when Jukka-Pekka Saraste was there, and he actually. That's one thing I remember with great fondness was working with him. I always found him to be a very stimulating artistic presence. And also, it was important for me because it's my hometown orchestra. I mean, it's the first group I heard. I mean, I used to go up in the gods at Massey Hall when I was 13 years old and listen to concerts, and that was when I really discovered live music and great orchestral music. So, and then several of my mentors and teachers are still in the orchestra. So that was a big deal.
If you are one of, and I'm taking a guess here, 60, 70, 80 players in a symphony orchestra, though, can you have much of a rapport with the music director of the day?
Yeah, you do. It's obviously it's rarely spoken. Most of it is through gesture and then what we play and how they react. I mean, the rehearsal process, which most listeners don't see, that's where most of the work gets done. So the concert that they come to is kind of the product of a lot of work, which involves a certain amount of discussion and back and forth. So yeah, we do. I mean, every individual gets something from the conductor.
Gotcha. You don't still have a relationship with either of those guys, though, do you? You don't hang out and watch football together or anything?
I saw Charlie just a couple of weeks ago. He was down in Boston conducting, and he was my boss, and I always got along fine with him. But we weren't playing foosball together or anything.
Can I just check? You called Charles Dutoit Charlie just now?
Yeah.
Would you call him that to his face?
Yeah.
Oh, you do call him Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And Jukka-Pekka, do you call him that?
He's
over. You don't see him anymore, I guess.
No,
he's gone.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Called him Yuka.
Yuka, okay. Now, at what point did you decide, okay, I've played in all of these different musical organizations around the world. Now I need to conduct. How did that happen?
It's something that I had an interest in from the start, I guess, and a curiosity about, and I always did a little bit of it, even in high school. And, it's funny talking about conductors, because one thing about life in an orchestra is, we grumble, and we can have guests on a pretty short leash, especially those of us sitting in the back row, So you spend a lot of time year after year just saying, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing." And
Meaning the
conductor of the week.
The conductor of the week.
Whoever's
Okay.
coming in that week. So after enough years of grumbling like everybody else, I still had an interest in it, and I thought, well, if let's see you do it. Basically, if you think this guy's a jackass, then why don't you do better? So I thought, well, why not see? I mean, you only live once, and so I started studying it more carefully, and I started. I think the big change for me was when I made myself go to the scores, go to the music that I'd learned, but only in this kind of very direct, narrow way. I'd learned my own parts, a couple of the other parts, but to just sit down for a few hours and really, really digest the piece and really take it apart and put it together, and you really, it puts you in this kind of contact with the composer in a sense, that you really start to see the genius. Like, we talk about Mozart in a kind of glib way, say, well, great melodies, he's a genius. But then when you go inside these scores, then you see, oh yeah, he really is a genius. And then you feel like you have a comprehension of it, and you want to bring it out, and you want to share it with the audience too.
And is the Hamilton Phil your first orchestra that's yours?
Yes.
That's a pretty good place to start.
It sure is, yes.
Not bad. Now, let's go back to this thing I raised off the top, which is, I think it's true that most guys who end up being the conductor or the music director, call it what you will, of a symphony orchestra, they're usually violinists, or most of the time it feels like anyway. I don't know any who came up as French horn players. Any theories on why that is?
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. I don't know why that would be. What I was just saying about this kind of focus that you have to have. I mean, the French horn has a reputation of being a difficult instrument, which is sort of true. It's not exactly that it's more difficult than the others, but it's a lot more precarious than the others. So I think for that reason, people who do well at it tend to be able to get this very narrow focus, like all of your attention is right on just getting that next note in exactly the right place. Because if you play the flute and you're a little distracted and you blow a little differently, the same note's still going to come out. It might not sound as perfect, but you're not going to splatter it all over the wall and have everybody in the audience be like, the horns did it again, So
That is true. You can't really miss much, can you? Everybody will know.
they kind of do.
They do.
They kind of do. So maybe it's just a question of if you develop that kind of laser concentration, maybe a lot less people find it easy to change that to this more kind of global concept of the piece.
So can you think of another French horn player who became a conductor of a symphony orchestra?
The one well-known one that comes to mind is Esa-Pekka Salonen, he was music director of Los Angeles Philharmonic for many years, and now he's at the Philharmonia in London.
You know him?
I know him a little bit. I think he was a good French horn player. I mean, he wasn't a first chair player in a big orchestra, but I gather he was a very good player.
Talk to us about your connection to Boston, because while you are the music director of the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra for the past 7 years, are you also at the same time the principal horn player for the Boston Symphony?
Yes.
2 jobs at once in 2 different cities that you can't really drive to.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is the evil twin, but one or the other.
Okay, how did this happen?
The way it happened was that when the position opened up in Hamilton, not without a lot of expectation, I sort of threw my hat in the ring there for the post. And I have a number of colleagues, friends who play in the orchestra, and they were foolish enough to give me a tryout, and it worked out. But the Hamilton Philharmonic is an orchestra that, at this point, we have a fairly short season. I mean, it's spread out over the year, but we do 10 weeks throughout the year. And the Boston Symphony schedule is such that there are enough slots here and there that as long as I kind of plan well, I can kind of make the two work and commute back and forth.
Commute back and forth. So you live in both places.
I do.
And like, I just don't understand how, from other conductors I've interviewed, that's not a part-time job. That's a pretty serious job. And as you say, you can't just know your part, you got to know everybody's part. And you got to pick the music, and you got to deal with sponsors and trustees and boards of directors and all of that stuff. And somehow you managed to have time for all of that and play horn in the Boston Symphony at the same time.
Yeah, you know,
It does sound a bit daunting.
It's a lot of that work that you just outlined is something that you don't have to be in any given place to do. You know, I don't like doing it on planes, but I've done a little bit of it on planes. But I can do some of that work in between things when I'm performing in Boston, and you know, I mean, it's been you know, some of the weeks are pretty frantic, but you know, they definitely, I mean, the two things really complement each other. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really feel like your nose is constantly to the grindstone. It's more like you're sort of taking a different look at the same kind of field.
I want to play a little tape of you doing your thing, because this was a great year to play for the Boston Symphony. Not just because it's always great to play for the Boston Symphony, but because you and some, I guess, colleagues or friends of yours in St. Louis got into a little, well, the thing speaks for itself, got into a thing. Let's roll the tape, please. Fantastic. Now, the thing I love about the end of the video, which we didn't show, is the trash talk that goes on after it, where, of course, you guys think the Red Sox are going to win the World Series, and they think the Cardinals are going to win the World Series. And I hope you were in touch with your opposite numbers from St. Louis and really grinded their nose in the fact that you guys won.
I just wish that we had made some kind of a bet. You know, I wish that we had made them shave their heads or something. I don't know. We didn't think it through because we were pretty confident.
How'd that come together?
You know, one of the trumpet players at the Boston Symphony, Mike Martin, it was all his brainchild. And we, you know, I mean, the orchestra world is pretty small, so we all have friends and colleagues back and forth. So it started with some trash talking, just as it ended with some trash talking.
Yeah. Seiji Ozawa was there.
Yeah.
I mean, he conducted the Boston Symphony, I think, 30 years ago. And he's back there for this video?
Yeah,
How'd that happen?
You know, it was just pure serendipity. Like, he had not been back to Boston in at least 3 or 4 years. He'd been basically in Japan. He hadn't been well. And he's about the biggest Red Sox fan that I know. I mean, he has a lifetime seat at Fenway Park. So when the Red Sox were doing that well, he decided he would avail himself of said seat and flew over from Japan just to watch some games. And he really had no intention of, you know, I don't think he was even going to visit the orchestra, but he heard about this project and agreed in about half a second to conduct the video that you saw. And so we were, you know, he's the one who hired me for that job 15 years ago. And I knew he had not been well, and I had seen him a couple times, and it was tough because, you know, he's 80 years old, and
Looked pretty good there.
He
looked very spry.
Yes, and so to see him like that, and to see him so energetic, and just to have him around again, it was really great, really fun.
You know Ed Barker?
Sure do.
Do you know who he's married to?
Pam
What's her last name?
Paikin. Yes, it is.
My father loves to joke that his cousin plays first base for Boston.
That's
Because
right.
Ed Barker's, of course, a double bass player.
Right.
Anyway, this just occurred to you this moment, didn't it? Did you not know that Ed Barker was married to Pam Paikin?
I guess I did. But I don't know why I didn't.
You somehow
put two and
didn't
two
make the
together.
connection.
Yeah.
I love that reaction on your face just now. That was very funny. Here's one of these kind of impossible to answer questions, but let me try it anyway. What's better, playing in somebody else's orchestra or conducting your own?
I think it's better to conduct your own. There are certainly days when, when you just want to go show up to work and do your job and go home, and that's something that when you're, I guess it's like, running anything. Like you can't do that when you're the conductor. Like you have to be on, and there's a lot to handle. But for me, it's just been so exciting in Hamilton. Especially from a musical point of view, to sort of get the orchestra more consistently playing really great music and getting the musicians really energized about the job and about that contact with the public there. And I feel like that's we've made some real progress over the last few years, just to kind of get the orchestra sounding great and getting everybody knowing that the orchestra is sounding great.
That was my next question. From where you took over 7 years ago to where you are now, how do you think the orchestra is different?
It's, there have been a few changes of personnel, which always makes a difference. But I think, more than that, it's just that the approach is more, I don't want to say serious exactly, but the approach is more engaged artistically than it was. People, I think the orchestra shows up and they feel more like, we're here to make great music, and we need the paycheck because this is our job. But in the end, it's not really about the paycheck. That it's about the art, and it's about the performance.
Is this it's really hard to pick up a newspaper these days without reading about some bad thing happening to some symphony orchestra somewhere in the world, be it a lockout or a strike, or they've had to cancel half the season because they haven't got the subscription base, or it's just a lot of bad news around right now. Mm-hmm. Did you feel a lot of that in Hamilton?
No, I didn't. Of course, there had been bad news in Hamilton.
They came close, didn't they, to losing it a while ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were some fallow years there, but when you talk about financial things and organizational things, that comes down. The musicians have to do their part, but the community has to do its part. The board has to do its part, and I think we have a great board, and I know we have a great community. We have a great audience there. So
So a great hall to play in too.
Yeah.
Hamilton plays a beautiful hall.
Yeah, and it was built at a time when there were a lot of terrible halls being built. So we were very fortunate with that.
Mm-hmm. Do you, as you look in the orchestra at the players, are they competitive with each other?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
I sometimes want to make this analogy to a sports team where, the starting running back of a football team sees the second string running back behind him, and that motivates him to be better. Does that happen among violinists or among horn players or among trumpet, that kind of thing?
It does. It does happen. And I may not be the one to know if it was going on. I don't always know what's happening within every section. But I think I know the players pretty well, and I don't think there's a lot of that in the HPO, if any.
If any, okay. If it's better to conduct your own orchestra rather than play in somebody else's, why are you leaving?
Well, it's a difficult question. I think there are a few things, but the main one is that I've been in a few situations where music directors have overstayed their welcome. We were talking about Montreal, a few others as well, and I don't feel like I've overstayed my welcome, but I don't want to. And I also think that every arts organization, especially when you're talking about the conductors, they really thrive on change, to a point. Obviously not every year, but a conductor gets up there, and no matter how much they know about the music and what kind of brain they have, there's only so many ways you can take the orchestra through certain repertoire. I mean, there's a lot we haven't done, a lot of repertoire that we haven't done, and so on. But I think that at a certain point, it's great artistically to have a new voice up there, to have a new set of hands up there.
If we can use your favorite baseball team analogy, Terry Francona, when he was manager of the Red Sox, said after a certain point, "I think they've stopped listening to me. I think I've lost the room." You wanted to make sure that didn't happen to you? Same kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's no beer and fried chicken in the dressing rooms.
No beer and fried chicken in the Philharmonic Orchestra's dressing room. That's good to know.
Yeah.
In which case, are you looking for another conducting gig out there somewhere?
I'm not hunting. I'm guest conducting quite a lot, and I like doing that. I think if the right situation came up, I would certainly entertain it. But for me, Hamilton was, I was kind of joking about it before, but I really genuinely felt flattered and fortunate to get the position. And I feel like I learned a lot and I grew a lot in these 7 years. And so I think, I'm not going to just chase after a job just to have it. And if something shows up that seems like that I'm a good fit for, I would do it.
Are you going to be, will it be strange to live in just one city for the next period of time?
Yes, yeah, but that's not, well, I've loved living in Hamilton, actually. I won't miss the travel.
Yeah. So it's just Boston in the immediate run, it'll be just Boston?
Yeah, my summers and my spring tend to be fairly peripatetic. I do a lot of touring on my own because I still, as I said, I guest conduct and I do a certain amount of playing as a soloist. And I teach here and there. So
you're not settling down at all. You're still going to be on planes a lot from the sounds of things.
Yeah, I guess I will.
How old are you?
51.
How long do you want to keep doing this for?
That is a good question. I don't want to retire. I can't. I was thinking about that just this morning, and I was imagining retirement, and it just, well, I wouldn't say never, but it's very hard to picture.
You still love to play?
I do, actually.
It's really nice of you to spend so much time with us here today. 7 years later, Jamie Sommerville stepping down from the Hamilton Philharmonic, and we thank you for walking down memory lane with us today and enjoying a Red Sox World Series victory this past season as well.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Good to have you here, Jamie.
Thanks.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.